What is the trashiest thing somebody has done at your family Thanksgiving? My mom told my cousin's husband not to cuss in front of their baby because she'll eventually repeat it. I get it, not her place maybe. Cousin's husband pulls out his gun and threatens to shoot my mom for telling him what to do. He looks exactly like you'd imagine. This was just a joke, but I still felt it was worth sharing. My uncle made a scene about having dropped something on the floor. When he was sure enough of us were now paying attention, he bends over to pick it up. His shirt rides up, and we see a tramp stamp tiger crawling out of his butt crack. It was a temporary tattoo that he had my aunt help him specifically put on for this occasion. My aunt always brought several large Tupperware containers and would begin packing up food for herself immediately after everyone had filled their plate. If you thought you might want seconds, you had to take them the first time, because there was often nothing left after she'd filled her containers. Of course if you did that, she'd make a snide comment about how much food you were eating. I don't recall ever seeing her sit down with a plate to eat with us. She was always in the kitchen packing up the food that she hadn't paid for or prepared. Her daughter, 28 at the time, wouldn't speak to anyone and fed the shrimp hors d'oeuvres to the cats. They are no longer invited. My dad threw dog shit at my cousin because said cousin farted in my dad's face. The woman my cousin had just married stole a Costco-sized box of individually wrapped Cheez-It packages from our garage. I just happened to notice they were gone when putting food in the fridge. Asked about it publicly, and she locked up, started stuttering, and went to get them out of her car. She returned with the excuse, "I thought these were mine. I have a box just like them at home." I was at my wife's uncle's house for Thanksgiving, and his wife decided right after dinner to play their wedding video because it was also their anniversary weekend. She looks for a half hour to find the videotape, finds it and gathers the whole dinner party, 25-ish people, to the backroom area, plays the video, and right as she's walking down the aisle, midway down the aisle it goes fuzzy and cuts to Dale Earnhardt's funeral. Uncle Joe used that tape to record Dale Earnhardt's funeral. Granted it was in small town Michigan, where the NASCAR track is, but still, everyone froze in complete shock and I started laughing and felt like I was in a sitcom, but it was real life. This isn't an isolated thing, but if someone doesn't show up for Thanksgiving or Christmas, we automatically check the inmate records at the county jail. It's happened a few times that someone's absence is accounted for by an arrest and/or jail stay. Every year we had Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house. One year everyone was there but one aunt. She was outside in her car refusing to come in. Turns out she had taken out a credit card in my cousin's name. Well, said cousin was in the Navy. Cousin found out on the drive over while opening her mail. Aunt had racked up $10,000+ of debt for my cousin. Edit. Cousin did not pay. Her father made her mother pay her back using part of her retirement. Seems this was just one of the first signs my aunt was not in her right mind anymore. My cousin did not want to press charges, but was able to get her credit back up with some work after the debt was paid off by her mother. There were a couple of other things my aunt had done but nothing like this. Unfortunately, she was literally out of her mind and only got worse. That Thanksgiving was one of the last ones where our family got together like that. My uncle, aunt and cousins never came back after that one. They did visit again at other times, but aunt was medicated and not like herself anymore. My uncle brought a woman other than his wife. She was crazy, a practicing witch who would divine things about us on the spot and ironically accused my other uncle of having an affair. She got drunk and groped me in the coat closet, then tried to kiss me saying, "If only I were young again." I was 16. One of my mom's friends was invited to our Thanksgiving because her kids were at their SOS families for the holiday. That year, my uncle brought a bottle of homemade limoncello to share. The stuff was delicious, but it was also 50% alcohol. Everyone was drinking it out of little 1-ounce glass cups. My mom's friend instead poured herself a full wine glass, one half the bottle, when no one was looking, downed it in 15 minutes, and then tried to go back for more. She was passed out drunk at least an hour before dinner even began. My husband's brother and his sister-in-law, who was married to his other brother, always disappeared for about 20 to 40 minutes at the same time. This happened for 4 years in a row before anyone got nosy enough to go looking for them. Sister-in-law is now married to the Thanksgiving hookup brother. Every Thanksgiving with my mill, my wife and I host. About 15 people come, and everyone brings side dishes as is the custom. Not her mother. She only brings stuff for herself. She proudly announces that whatever she brought is just for her. It's not for diet purposes, because she eats all the other food too. When dessert makes an appearance, she will make a big scene about wanting the first piece instead of letting the kids get theirs and get out of the way. One year there was a big argument about the corner pieces of a chocolate cake. She went first as usual and cut herself 2 corner pieces and took them both. If you want to make little kids cry, do that. She wouldn't give them up though. Also, she treats a guest room and bath like a hotel. When she leaves she takes the toilet paper rolls, the Kleenex box, paper towels, soap, etc. Edit, just to address some of the comments in one swoop. She's not fat, and she's not senile. She is invited every year, because my wife is the only family that she has, and my wife would feel tremendously guilty if she didn't invite her. Not much of an excuse, but that's why. And if you are horrified by the above, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I could really make your head spin with her behavior on the 364 days of the year that on Thanksgiving. Edit 2. Here's some additional examples I posted in a response to a comment below. Let me think of some more sordid tales. A local bank used to have a freezer inside during a summer promotion with free ice cream bars for customers. She got banned from the bank because she would go there every day and take 2 ice cream bars and bring them home. She wasn't even a customer at the bank. Finally they told her not to come back. In the 20 or so years I've been with my wife, her mother has never offered to cook a meal, pay for a meal, watch our kids, or help with the kids in any way. The last time she was invited here she brought half a tray of pastries. My wife questioned her about it, and she took the leftover tray of pastries from a party she was at after they had been picked over, and God knows what. We told her to throw them out, but she just put them back in her car. Also, if she's at a restaurant and someone has a birthday party, she will go over to their table and ask them if she can have a piece of their cake. I'm not joking. She has a real thing about cake. She stole my mother's prescription eyeglasses last Christmas when they were both here, claiming that she thought they were hers. Hers were black reading glasses. My mother's were red prescription glasses. After getting busted for that, she planted a black sweater in my mom's guest room and made a big deal about my mom taking her things. She once showed up unannounced to one of our vacations and brought a friend and expected us to take them both to dinner 5 minutes after we arrived. We don't tell her when we are going on vacation anymore. I can keep going. An actual family fight broke out. We had to call the cops and everything. My grandpa got a fine. My uncle was arrested. My step-grandmother's oldest daughter was arrested. Before my uncle and grandpa passed away, we wouldn't let them live it down. It was glorious. When I say fight, I mean people on the floor throwing punches. We never went back to my grandpa's for Thanksgiving after that. This was when I was between 8 to 9. We actually went back 1 year and my aunt gave us all food poisoning. My mom was literally dragging my brother and I into the ER because how bad the food poisoning was. I have not eaten anything she has cooked since. Faked a heart attack. It was very surreal. And her husband was so embarrassed. Edit. Here's what happened. Grandmother didn't like my dad very much, and she picked a fight with him, so he decided that he was going home. When grandmother realized that my stepmom, her daughter, was going to take dad's side and go home too, she yelled a lot and then, as a last-ditch effort, dramatically clutched her chest and collapsed very carefully. It was outside, and I guess she didn't want to bump her head or muss her clothes. Dad offered to call 911. Grandfather said it wasn't necessary, and when grandmother realized no one was taking her seriously she opened her eyes, allowed grandfather to help her up, and went inside with him while fake sobbing. Normally she was quite nice, but she had her moments and really wasn't happy that her daughter had grown up and had a life. Holidays usually brought out the worst in her, which was weird because she loved cooking and celebrating. We were hosting Thanksgiving and prepared all the food ourselves, and my mom spent all morning cooking and baking. My aunt, uncle, and cousins arrive right before dinner and walk in with a White Castle case and said they just stopped to eat a few minutes ago. We had prepared Thanksgiving just for them and they decided that they wanted White Castle instead. She was responsible for bringing the dessert. She showed up 3 hours late and instead of bringing dessert she brought an open bag of frozen pea ridges. It was a real downer. We were hosting a young lady my wife worked with, as well as her boyfriend. Halfway through dinner and somehow the discussion got to how her and her brother once got super trashed on a bitter sin, and next thing you know yeah, that was really a weird time. Everyone just got really quiet as we were trying to decide how to fill that one in and where to go with it. For some reason they got really quiet after that. My aunt got drunk and then naked. She ran down the street stark naked after hitting on my cousin's boyfriend. Her kids saw it all. They were all under the age of 12. She then cried the whole next day because everyone was mad at her. I called CPS because she tried driving drunk with the kids. A few weeks later she got drunk at the same house by the pool. She lost balance when she stepped into the pool filter. She first hit the pool, but caught herself with the hand that was holding the glass beer bottle. The shards of glass bottle ended up inside of her cheek and neck. After hitting the ground and passing out, she rolled into the pool and died if others hadn't fished her out. She is still an alcoholic. She's not invited to Thanksgivings anymore because she now does meth. Update: my family thought it was hilarious that this got so many upvotes. I'm at my mom's family's house and this story was about my dad's sister. My mom's family is way more of Hicks, but just less addiction problems. Also my family said I got the story backwards. Pool incident was first. She had stitches on her face and neck when she ran down the street naked lol. And no, she's not hot at all for those asking. Update: after years of no contact, she showed up to my parents' house 2 days ago. She had been homeless for 12 days living in her car. She kicked the ex-con out of the car for the night to park her car in my parents' driveway. After a few hours, she went back to the BF likely because she needed to get high. Also, she got fired from another nursing job. Another nursing job let her go without reporting her. Pudding wars. As a child, my grandmother would make banana pudding for Thanksgiving. Homemade custard and meringue, the works. Every year my mom and her brother would outdo themselves trying to keep the other from getting the pudding. My uncle broke into our house one year to steal it. My grandma took to making decoy pudding and hiding the real stuff. But one year takes the cake. My grandma refused to make the beloved pudding. My great aunt steps in and offers to make it. Great aunt shows up. My mom takes the entire tray of pudding from her hands and runs into my grandmother's bedroom screaming at my younger cousin to get her a spoon. She locked herself into my grandmother's bedroom with every intention of eating herself sick on that banana pudding. Unfortunately, my great aunt can't cook. The result of this was that instead of smooth, creamy custard, the pudding had bits of scrambled egg yolk in it. This happens if you try to heat the custard too fast and don't continuously stir as it's cooking. Only moments after locking herself in the room, my mom returned, disappointed, and ate her turkey in sullen silence. My uncle and grandfather don't have a good relationship, but were tolerating each other because Thanksgiving. My uncle was cooking lasagna and my grandfather decided to help, so he grated the cheese. He did this in another room because the kitchen was full of other people cooking. We have a big Thanksgiving, maybe 15 to 20 who love to eat. I had brought in the cheese and everything was going fine. Flash forward to dinner time. The food is coming out, and as tradition dictates we always start with lasagna. My grandfather made some joke like, "I know you hate me, but at least I'm great," and shit hit the fan. My uncle literally went into a rage and was yelling at everyone because we didn't tell him he was using tainted cheese. Then said fuck it and proceeded to flip the table all the food was on. Then my grandfather called him outside to settle the score, which resulted in 2 grown men fist fighting in the backyard, culminating with my granddad getting thrown into the pond we lived off of and slicing his leg on a jagged rock that he landed on. The rest of us ordered Chinese food and kicked my uncle out, and my grandfather refused the hospital because he had a little too much holiday joy in him at the time. Surprising, my uncle hasn't come to holidays in years now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.